Hello, everybody. It's me again. Hopefully, you're having a good week. 2 points I just want to highlight. I was really impressed with your bibliographies. I think you're all headed in a great direction. I think that you did some really good research, and I think that this research will really pay off in the long run. Again, my only advice is to keep narrowing down the overall focus of your papers, right? Make sure you have a very specific, narrow geographic or chronological scope. I think the better you can do this, the better shape you can be in. It's always better to start too narrow and then gradually expand as opposed to starting way too big and then having to shrink down later. And again, I'd rather have you go more in depth rather than cover a greater breadth. Hopefully that makes sense. But I was really impressed. I think you're all headed in great directions, and I think you're all doing really great work on your projects. The other point is my take on absolutism. It's just amazing the alliances that were in the power that these absolute monarchs had. My take is that an absolute monarch is able to form very close alliances, right, between the nobility and the king. The nobility are willing to give up some of their traditional medieval power in exchange for the security, protection, and some degree of economic freedoms that the monarch will then give them. In turn, the monarch gets essentially absolute power over the kingdom, right? And so I would argue it's a close alliance between the nobility, who want just stability and protection, and the monarch, who wants greater power, and is able to justify this through even a divinely sanctioned idea, right? He's sanctioned through God. The other point is that there's no middle class in a lot of these areas, right? We're talking about France, we're talking about Russia. There's not a very strong developing middling sort or middle class yet, right? In England, there's no absolute monarch. There's none of these grand palaces, because the people that have the money are merchants and the like, the people that made it themselves, and the last thing they want to do is give it up to a monarch. All right, they made the money, they want to keep it themselves. And so what you have in places like the Netherlands and the UK are very comparatively weak monarchs, right? Again, compare English palaces or Windsor Castle, nice but not that nice, to Versailles, which is a lot nicer. Versailles by a long shot. And then compare what the Russian monarchs are able to do. Peter the Great, right? He's not only able to build his own city, but he builds his not able to build his own castle. He kind of one-ups this, and he builds his own city, right? He creates St. Petersburg. These guys are just able to spend like crazy. They have all this absolute authority, and they're able to exercise virtually unchecked power in their kingdoms. Again, it's ironic because at the same time you have the Enlightenment going on, roughly, and people are arguing that people have certain inalienable rights, right? Try telling Peter the Great that he has to listen to Parliament. Try telling Peter the Great that he's as equal as Joe Schmo on the street, right? I mean, his ideas would just be completely foreign to these absolute monarchs. And so, in one sense, in Central, Eastern Europe, France, these monarchs are getting more and more authority. And on the other side, in Western Europe, England, and the Netherlands especially, the rights of the power of these monarchs is being vastly contained and constrained by the people, especially this rising, middling sort of people who just don't want to hand over power to a monarch without getting something in return. All right, so that's my take. Hopefully that helps. Keep up the great work. The discussions are great. Your papers, I think, are doing well. Just keep engaging with the sources and keep plugging away on this project. So again, please let me know if I can help you or if you have any specific questions as we move forward. All right. Again, keep up the great work. It's a pleasure, and reach out if you have any specific issues. All right. Have a good night, and I'll see you on the discussion boards. Good luck.